Hello there, it's Sarah from Paper Lovely. Thanks for joining me today. This is going to be part 2 of some Easter Cricut cards I am creating for you using the new Close to My Heart Daisy Meadows Cricut cartridge. So in the first part we made a cutout bunny card, and now I'm going to be making 4 Easter egg cards. I am going to insert my images, and I found this Cricut cartridge by going to insert images, and then I have categorized that or narrowed that down by ownership by clicking purchased. I'll type in the word spring, which brings me to the spring image. I'll then click on the little I for more info, and then the link to see the entire cartridge. From there, I have pulled out my 4 Easter eggs, and I've inserted these into my workspace here. So I am going to create these a normal A2 size card. So my largest is going to be my height here, which I ended up making 5.5 inches. Again, I'm going to make sure that I leave the little lock above my measurements closed and locked, so that way when I make this larger, the proportions will all stay the same, and I won't do anything to change or stretch my image. I'm going to once again grab my solid background and duplicate that. I will be adding some score lines, which will create a top fold, and that's going to be the back portion of my card. But I'm just taking you through here, as always, including everything so that if you are new to Cricut, you'll be able to see what I'm doing. Here I'm actually repeating quite a few things, so you'll see everything that I'm doing sort of in a series as I create all 4 of these. I'm again changing my size, duplicating that solid back to create the back portion of my card, and I'm going to do that for all 4 of these here. While I am working on that, I'm going to let you know the cardstock I'm using is, again, from Close to My Heart. I'm going to be using Peach, Glacier, Smoothie, Sundance, Peacock, and Ballerina. So now I have got all my card fronts and card backs lined up and ready to go. I am going to change the color on that dark teal there, just because I know that my pen is not going to show up very well on that one. But before I get to that, I am going to create my score lines, which are going to go on those solid backs of the cards. So I pulled in a score line here. I'm going to rotate that 90 degrees to make sure that's going horizontal, and I'm going to line that up at the top of each of my eggs. Now I am a bit finicky with this. I want to make sure that everything gets lined up. Again, I'm leaving in the whole process so you can see that you're figuring out as you go, and it's basically trial and error, and you're just, moving things around until you're happy with the way that you have them. I will, however, I did for the last project as well as this project, I will link to my completed files. So for those of you who maybe would like to make the cards, but you don't really enjoy this editing process, you can actually go ahead and click that link. If you have a Cricut machine, all of this will load up for you, and then all you have to do is cut. The project's just ready and waiting there for you to use. All right, once I have all of my score lines lined up, I am going to go ahead and change a few colors here. I decided to make the background of that card a light blue, and then the darker pink here, I'm going to change one of those to a lighter pink. For the rings that go around the outside of these bottom two eggs, I wanted those to pop a little bit more. So this first one here, I'm going to change to that sort of minty blue color. Whoops. There, I had actually highlighted the whole egg instead of just the layer that I wanted. So here you'll see I'll go over and click just that layer and then change the color. And I'm going to do the same thing over here. I will select that ring layer, and this one I'm going to turn into that pretty Sundance yellow-orange color. Next, we need to add the inside message. So I am again going to go with Happy Easter. I'm going to highlight that, and I will center it. And then I need to select my font. So I'm going to click on the fonts there, and I will go ahead and filter that. Whoops, clicked the wrong thing there. And then I'll go ahead and filter that. It's off on the right-hand side. Make sure I'm only seeing those fonts that have a writing style. And I'll scroll through until I find one that I like. Just again, doing this all by trial and error. Trying out a few until I find one that I'm happy with. This one that I'm going to end up using here is called Sweet Tea Society. I'm going to grab my egg, the score line, as well as my font here, and I want to make sure and I get all of those centered. So clicked the wrong thing there. I actually wanted to center them vertically, not horizontally. So that's fine. Just hit the undo button, and then again, I'll make sure I have everything selected. That undo button is great. Anytime you do the wrong thing, you just click it. You can go back and start all over again. So there, I'll go ahead and select everything again and make sure that that is centered properly. Now I went ahead and grouped that together and attached it, and then I thought, wait a minute, I don't want to have to redo all of my typing and everything again. So I'm gonna undo that, and before I do my grouping and my attaching, I'm gonna duplicate my sentiment and add one of those to each of my eggs. I'm going to zoom out a little bit there just to make it a little bit easier, make things not quite so tight. And then again, I will make sure I'm grabbing all three of those things, the score line, the background, and the typing. Center those horizontally. And then I will group them and attach them. And the reason we're doing that is because we want Cricut to see it all as one item. That way, when the machine does everything, it's going to attach the score line as well as the writing onto that back layer of my card. I'm going to again do this for all four of them. I will select them, group them, and then attach them. Once I have all of those finished, I'm going to go ahead and click Make It, and that will take me to all of my different layers of colors. Again, I like to go ahead and trim out my paper to make sure that it is just the size that I need to create my cuts with a little bit of border around the edge. This just makes taking them off the mat so much easier. So I'm going to start with this darker pink color here. This is Smoothie. And this cardstock is from Close to My Heart. The colored cardstock is 65 pounds. I'm going to select that there. I always like to add a little more pressure on my blade. There is some scoring and some writing on this. So I like to use the scoring stylus. I've been using that since I've had a Cricut. I don't have the scoring wheel. I may invest in that at some point. But for now, I think the stylus works just as well. I've loaded my scoring stylus as well as my fine cut blade. And the first thing it's going to do is the scoring. And then I'm going to get this message that pops up asking me to place in the pen. So I will remove the scoring stylus, add in the pen, go ahead and click my go button again, and then it will add my writing and finish up with the cutting. So here you can see I'm peeling away that background, and then I will remove all 4 of my eggs from my mat. So this was a really good example to show. I have one that has the writing and the scoring. I have 2 that are going to create some of the backgrounds for the front designs of my card. And then I have one of the overlays for the cards where you'll see that I have a bunch of the designs that have been cut out on that. Just using my spatula to very carefully and slowly lift that off of my mat. And I'll use my weeding tool to remove any of the smaller pieces that I need to. So for the sake of time, I have skipped ahead here. I have everything cut out, and now I have sped things up, and I'm going to show you how I placed all of these together and how everything lines up. So this one with the curved lines was a little tricky. I kept flipping things around until I finally got the look that it was supposed to have there. I'm going to lay everything out together there where I see a few little pieces that maybe haven't been picked out yet, or something that's hanging. I'll just go ahead and adjust that. And then I realized that blue needed to go in with the other 2 pinks as well. It's going to give a background. The easiest way I found to line that up was that smaller stripe across the top. If I got that lined up, then everything else sort of seemed to fall into place. I think that one was the trickiest of all of them though, because it did have the most layers. All right, there they are all laid out in their layers, and now we'll go ahead and place them together. So this one that I'm working on here is one of my favorites. I love the way that this cut out. It was so perfect. It reminds me of just a really, really fancy Fabergé egg. I think that's such a beautiful design in the center there. So I'm going to add some art glitter glue, place that sort of golden yellow ring around the outside, making sure I've got that nice and lined up. That's one nice thing about using a liquid glue. You have a little bit of time there that you can sort of zhuzh things around to make sure that they're in the right place. And then I thought it would be really fun to add some dimension. So I'm going to run some 1/8 inch foam tape all the way around the edge of that egg. That's just going to create a little distance between that overlay and the background and gives it some really pretty dimension. Then I'll place that down on top of this sort of mint blue colored egg. and that'll finish the top portion of this egg. Making sure that's down nice and tight. Just going to run my bone folder around. There, I had a few edges I just wanted to make sure everything had been taken off of. So again, I'm going to grab the back portion of my card. I will fold down that score line, add some art glitter glue, and then place those together. Make sure that's nice and tight. And there we have the card. So we'll keep going. We will layer this one together next. Again, I am just double checking, making sure everything is in the right order. Then I'll add some art glitter glue. I'll lay my lighter pink down on top of my darker pink. Again, double checking. I thought about maybe popping this up, and then I decided with the 4 layers that this one I would just keep with regular glue. I ended up doing 2 that were more flat and 2 that were more popped up. Adding that darker pink onto the lighter blue, and then finally I'll add my light blue onto my teal. I'll fold down that top portion of the back of my card. Again, add some art glitter glue and then press that into place. And there is card number 2. Card number 3, this one was really simple, just 2 layers, adding some glue to the light pink, placing that on top of the darker pink smoothie, folding down the top portion of the back, adding some art glitter glue to that, and pressing the 2 in place. This last one is my favorite, I think, just because of the colors. I love this sort of darker pink and orangey yellow and blue together. I'm gonna place down this orange layer on top of that dark pink layer first. And then this one I decided to pop up as well. So I'm gonna grab that blue, again using my 1/8 inch foam tape. I'll run that all the way around the ring. I did run out here, but that's okay. I just grabbed some of my larger foam tape and trimmed that down a bit. And I'll finish that up there. And then place that down on top. Wasn't quite happy with how that lined up there, so I'm just going to give that one more try. And then once I'm happy, I'll go ahead with that bone folder and make sure that that's down nice and tight. Again, I'll grab my back, fold down on the score line, add some art glitter glue, and press the 2 together. And that's card number 4. Now I did decide that I would do a little bit more embellishment. So I am going to pull in some of my enamel dots. I think, yes. So I pulled in the smallest enamel dots, and I just did those in a rotating pattern here. I'm going to run those all the way across each of those little dots just to put a little more color, a little more dimension, give this card a little something extra. I'm going to use my pokey tool, and I will just add those along in a rainbow of colors. I was really happy with how the smaller ones turned out, so I grabbed this one as well, and I'm just going to use the largest of the yellow dots, and I'm going to run those across to create one yellow stripe on this other card as well. And there we go. Now you'll see I did change the font. I ended up creating some new backgrounds. I wanted to add the exclamation point to my sentiment there. So I did create new backgrounds for all of these cards, but put them together exactly the same way. There I'm going to pull in my bunny, and that is going to complete our 5 Happy Easter cards using the Daisy Meadows Cricut cartridge. Here are a few close-ups of the finished cards. In the description box below, you'll find my blog post, which has additional photos and links to the supplies I used. If you enjoyed the video, please leave me a comment or a thumbs up and subscribe for more. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.